Movies, like every product, will compete to earn your money. However, in this day and age, audiences are more likely to go to the cinema sparingly and only see the movies they really want to see. So, what movies made it to the top? Today, we'll be looking at all the movies released in 2022 with the money they made in 2022. This means that they were originally released in 2022 and all of their gross was in 2022. Domestically speaking, that is. With all that said, let's look at what movies made the theaters the place to go. Number 10, Black Adam. The hierarchy of power in the DC universe is about to change. Until it didn't. The only thing more powerful than The Rock's superpowers is The Rock's ego.
I kneel before no one.
This movie would have not been made if it wasn't for Dwayne Johnson. The character was meant to be the antagonist of the 2019 film Shazam. However, Johnson had the character pulled out, put in his own solo movie, and was set to go up against Henry Cavill's Superman. The movie did decent numbers at the domestic box office, pulling in $168 million. Unfortunately, even with the addition of international markets, it wasn't enough to break even, despite what The Rock says. Moviegoers found the story to be a mess and that The Rock was doing the same thing he always does. It also didn't help, shortly after the film's release, new DC head James Gunn announced a full-on reboot was in the works, and just a few weeks later, Black Panther Wakanda Forever took most movie screens. The film may have cracked the top 10 of 2022, but it wasn't enough to motivate The Rock's DC takeover. Number 9, Sonic the Hedgehog. Unstoppable at heroics and money-making. Before the Hedgehog sped into town, movie adaptations of video games spelled financial disaster for studios. However, the first Sonic the Hedgehog movie flew in, and even with the COVID-19 pandemic, still was received well in both reviews and cash, thanks in large part to Ben Schwartz portraying the titular beloved character, and Jim Carrey delivering his most over-the-top performance as the villainous Dr. Robotnik.
Papa's got a brand new stash.
Both of them returned to the sequel and were joined by Colleen O'Shaughnessy, reprising her Sonic media role as Tails, and Idris Elba joined the cast as Knuckles. One adventure later, the movie grossed a domestic amount of $190 million, and with the worldwide total became the highest grossing video game movie. This performance gave Studio Paramount the confidence to greenlight a Knuckles spin-off series on a streaming service and a third Sonic movie. Even if Sonic might not be going up against Eggman, this franchise is not slowing down anytime soon. Number 8, Thor: Love and Thunder. This ends here and now! Famous last word. In the MCU, the Thor franchise has had a rough journey, but it seems like it found its footing with 2017's Thor Ragnarok. Marvel was excited with the response from fans and Chris Hemsworth himself that they announced a fourth Thor film was in the works, with Taika Waititi returning to write and direct. The end result was Thor: Love and Thunder, which went to Olympus with a domestic take of $343 million. However, its combined worldwide total was barely enough to break even, as it's one of the most expensive MCU movies ever made. One of the biggest reasons why the film had the biggest second weekend drop for Marvel was due to the fact that it couldn't take itself seriously, with every serious moment being ruined by a joke.
Jane?
Add the fact that the CGI was off par with most MCU films, and you have a film that ends the Thor franchise on a sour note. Number 7, The Batman. What's green and light and stacked? The money this movie made. Riddle me this: how many faces have donned the cowl? Answer: too many to keep track of. Nevertheless, The Dark Knight brought in some serious cash to add to the Wayne fortune with a domestic take of $369.3 million. Fans flew to see the new reboot with its dark and gritty take on the Caped Crusader and see him actually using detective skills, which other films have barely touched.
How am I part of this?
Oh, you're really not as smart as I thought you were.
Bruce Wayne.
film has made quite the impression that it will survive the upcoming DC Universe reboot and will continue to live on in its own universe with a spin-off series and direct sequel. And it's no question that fans will continue to watch. Number 6. Minions: The Rise of Gru. Those dastardly minions stole the animation crown. Following 2020, most studios were unsure if animated family films could still do well in the box office. The most famous of those was Disney, as it continued releasing their newest animated features onto Disney+. Universal, on the other hand, took the risk to have this movie released in theaters, and the results paid off. The film was announced as the highest grossing animated movie of 2022 with a domestic gross of $369.5 million, and with its worldwide total kept the streak running 3 years.
No, haha.
What attracted this much attention was the film was something everyone could enjoy, and a proven point thanks to the gentleman meme, this movie. All in all, another despicable win. Number 5. Jurassic World Dominion. Not even an asteroid can stop this franchise. Following the tease of Fallen Kingdom, fans were excited at the idea of dinosaurs invading the mainland, and the fact that the original trilogy stars would be returning in fully fledged roles generated even more excitement. This new attraction would go on to close $376 million domestically, even with the feedback.
Bigger. Why do they always have to go bigger?
Though the film was enjoyable, many felt that the franchise had missed out on an exciting opportunity when they caged all the excitement in halfway through the movie onto a remote island, and the main storyline resolved around an ancient plague spread by ancient moths, pointing end of the Jurassic World trilogy. But if this franchise ever gets revived, people will steal ahead in packs to go see it. Number 4. Avatar: The Way of Water. 13 years later, Pandora is just as exciting. Before continuing, this script was written with all the income at the end of the year, and Avatar 2 is still making money, so for now, it's placed at number 4. That said, James Cameron does not disappoint. The 13 years between the two films allowed technology to improve so that The Way of Water could be made, and all that CGI research paid off. Audiences have been flocking in the masses to see the sequel to the biggest movie of all time, and by the end of 2022, the movie had a domestic gross of $401 million. The VFX combined with heartwarming acting and a simple story of a father trying to protect his family from an increasing threat was enough to have audiences return to the captivating world of Pandora.
Stronghold.
If this film tells us anything, it's that the story of Avatar is only getting started and the money is just rolling in. Number 3. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. And a trip to another universe was enough to satisfy the studio. When Phase 4 of the MCU was announced, the big tentpole film was the sequel to 2016's Doctor Strange, which would see the former Sorcerer Supreme open the doors to the multiverse. The film was one of Marvel's most anticipated projects, as we learned that Sam Raimi would direct, Elizabeth Olsen would reprise her Marvel role as Wanda Maximoff, and that we would get satisfying cameos.
We should tell him the truth.
One trip through the multiverse gained Marvel a domestic gross of $411 million. However, it couldn't get to the highest grossing film of Phase 4, as Sony stole that title with Spider-Man No Way Home, and there seemed to be too much going on that didn't prompt more ticket sales than what we had got. Maybe people's doctors told them to give the theaters a rest. Number 2. Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. After all this, Wakanda still stands. Kind of. 2018's Black Panther was a huge success for Disney, so a sequel was guaranteed. Unfortunately, the passing of Chadwick Boseman put the film on the spotlight with a lot more expectation. In the end, writer-director Ryan Coogler chose to pass on the mantle to Letitia Wright Shuri, while also introducing a fan-favorite character from the comics. Namor. They called him Kukul Khan. The film did well in the box office with a domestic gross of $436 million, making it the second highest grossing Marvel film of Phase 4. However, the numbers were nowhere near the first movie, as some audience members found that the story didn't have much to improve off the first film. There's still argument today on whether or not the role of T'Challa should have been recast, but all we know is that Wakanda was still a draw for some audiences, but not enough to gain the number 1 spot. Number 1, Morbius. It's Morbin time! Who would have thought that a movie based off of one of Spider-Man's lesser-known antagonists would be this successful? Following the success of Spider-Man No Way Home, fans headed to see the next big Marvel movie event, and it did not disappoint. Within its first theatrical release, it grossed over $1 billion worldwide, and when the meme "It's Morbin time" went viral, Sony used that momentum to re-release the film, making another more $1 billion.
Why shouldn't they know what it feels like for a change?
Okay, you can see that this is a joke, but the film does get a shout out for not once bombing at the movie theaters, but twice. Number 1, Top Gun Maverick. Tom Cruise's legacy sequel flew off this year. Who would have thought that a sequel being released 30 years after the original would become the ultimate summer blockbuster? Apparently, not even Paramount did. The studio had apparently been planning to drop the movie on its streaming service after multiple theatrical delays. Sure, the movie would have gotten some buzz, but Tom Cruise insisted on a theatrical release, and his gambit paid off. Upon its release, no one could stop talking about the movie that defined the summer of 2022, and it would go on to gross $718 million just domestically.
Having any fun yet?
It's gone on the record as one of the longest theatrical exclusives before heading to a streaming service since 2020. If Spider-Man No Way Home showed us that there was still hope for the movie theaters, Top Gun Maverick showed us why movies are meant for the big screen. And that's it. I hope you all enjoyed this. If you did, please consider leaving a like, comment, and subscribe with the notification bell turned on. Other than that, hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Until then, laters!